All right, we're back with another Record Show Finds video. This will be a quick one. This was a Record Show in Woburn, Mass. This past Sunday, the 15th. They used to do some shows in Burlington a couple times a year, or a few times a year, but they haven't done one in this area in a while. So it was actually at the Crown Plaza Hotel. So the show was, I think, like 10 to 3, and it's like $5 to get in. But I actually did the early bird, which I've never done before, which was 9 a.m. For that first hour. It was $10. So I paid the 10 because I figured, number one, it's a big show, so there's a lot more to get through at the hotel. He's in like the grand ballroom. And number two, I figured, being the first show back in the area in a while, at least in this local area, that it might be a big crowd. I'd say there's about, when I got there, there's about maybe 15, 20 people tops in line for the early bird, so that was good. I only picked up a few records because the weekend before in Dedham I went kind of nuts. So, but I got some good finds. I did see another copy of Tracy Chapman that one of the sellers had on his wall, actually, his little display wall. And I asked him because he sold it, and I asked him how much. He said $75, and I always laugh at that. You know, the week before I talked to a seller who had sold two copies for 35 each. I've seen somebody else have it priced at 65, and I always tell them, like, I found it maybe 8 years ago at a townwide yard sale for $1. So I love that every time I see it. I don't know why that record has all of a sudden gained so much popularity. Maybe it's the cover that the country singer did of Fast Car. Maybe it's that it's never been reissued, I guess, although I've heard they might be doing like a 40th anniversary reissue or something. I don't know, but for whatever reason, people want it and they're willing to pay. I can't believe someone would pay $75. It's a really good record, but you know, I'm not paying $75 for it. I'm glad I found mine for $1 years ago. Anyway, let's get into it real quick. So this first one, this seller, I actually remembered, he was at one of the bigger Dedham shows back in April, I think it was. Excuse me. And he had this record, and I passed on it then. This is Parliament's first record, Osmium. This is a reissue. The original came out in, I think, 71, and this is, he didn't even know the year. I looked it up. I couldn't find exactly the year. It's like 2016 or newer. But there aren't a ton of reissues that are around. They didn't reissue this a lot. But if you know anything about like George Clinton, Funkadelic, Parliament Funkadelic, kind of like interchangeable band members. Early Funkadelic is, you know, you think funk when you think of Parliament Funkadelic, George Clinton, but early Funkadelic is more almost like psychedelic rock. Anyone familiar with like the Maggot Brain record? The title track's like a 10-minute guitar solo that sounds just like something Jimi Hendrix would do. But early Parliament, this being their very first album, kind of sounds more like Funkadelic than the later Parliament stuff, which is more like R&B, I guess. I'm not familiar with a ton of the stuff. I know some of the early Funkadelic. But this will be a good one. So he had it for 30. It was going back and forth. I asked if he'd do 20. He said 25. So I paid 25. Really only 20 out of pocket because I had a bunch of singles that I have in an envelope that I use for like gas money or just, you know, miscellaneous stuff. So I had brought 5 out of that. And so pretty much only had to pay 20 out of pocket for that. So that's a cool one to get. Then this next seller, this guy Joe that I know, he's always got really clean, good stuff. And I don't always buy something from every show, a lot of the stuff I have, but he's always got some good stuff. Yeah, I don't think he was at the Dedham show last weekend, but sometimes I'll pick up something. I don't always, like I said, but he's always got good, clean stuff. So he had a lot of bootlegs this time. When I was flipping through the A section, he had maybe 5 or 6 of these AC/DC bootlegs, all different ones that he said he got from Europe. You know, they're like soundboard quality bootlegs. So this one was from 1977. It's got some good stuff on it. I was torn going back and forth. I had like 2 or 3 different ones in my hand, and I just settled on this one. And he's like, you know, I could do 30 for that or whatever. So I kept flipping through all his stuff. He had some Metallica bootlegs and Stevie Ray Vaughan bootlegs. I have enough of his live stuff. But then I found this, and I was super psyched. This is the Replacements. There's another bootleg. It's their farewell gig from July 4th, 91. These are both double LPs, and they're both sealed. which is great. Again, it's another bootleg. So we had this for 39. I was pretty selective and cheap on Sunday, so I was actually going to put the AC/DC one back because I'm not a huge AC/DC fan. I have most of their studio albums from like the 70s, and I wouldn't say all, most from the Bon Scott area, and then I got a few from Brian Johnson. But anyway, I don't listen to them that often. I get in the mood once in a while, but he has so many bootlegs. It'd be cool to have one of their bootlegs. But I was ready to put this one back because I really like the Replacements. I think a little. I don't have a lot of their stuff. One other album, but I like their sound more. The older I get, I really like their stuff. I'm trying to find more of their stuff, but it's expensive when you do find it. And this was 39, so I'm like, yeah, I think I'm only going to get one. He's like, come on, I'll give you both for 60. So 34 and 39, 73. And I got him for 60. And the best thing is, I asked him if he took Venmo, which he does. A lot of the dealers do. Last December, I got reimbursed from my ex for $150 something, maybe $154. Sent it back to my Venmo for a couple of holiday events that I wasn't going to be attending after we broke up, which was great. So I used 100 of it on a March Madness pool from somebody at work, and then I think I used like 15 for a donation at work, and I had like $39 and change left on it that I noticed last week. And I'm reminding myself, I'm like, let me just use that at the record show because it's basically free money. It's been sitting there. I can't transfer it back because I only have Venmo linked to a debit card, not a bank account. So it's just been sitting there for Venmo purchases to use. So I gave him 35 in my Venmo money, and then I paid him 25 in cash. So again, I consider that 35 free money. So I got two great sealed new bootlegs for $25 in cash from him. Can't beat that. And then the only other one I only bought 4 the other day. This was, I've never seen this. I don't think it's crazy rare. It's a double album back in the early days, Muddy Waters. His real early stuff, a lot of acoustic stuff. I've listened to a little bit of it on YouTube. And it is a UK import. There's a couple from Connecticut that sells it, most of the shows that I know fairly well by now. I don't buy a ton of stuff from them, but I at least flip through every show. And they had it listed for 20. The wife in her section always gives like 10% off if you spend 40 or more, and I think 15% off or 20% off if you spend 100 or more. So she doesn't budge too much on her listed prices. So I asked her if she'd do 15. She's like, I'll do 18. And I'm like, that's fine. Both records are like super, super clean. I think this came out in 71 maybe. I looked at it. I think it's like early 70s. I haven't really opened any of these, but both records are like super clean. And I usually, by the time I get to them and the stuff she has, I've spent a lot. But she always has like a nice one box of blues and a lot of good stuff like Muddy Waters, John Lee Hooker, stuff like that. So I'm like, well, I should pick something up. The only Muddy Waters I have is maybe like a greatest hits collection. So I like a lot of his, and even his early stuff that's just a lot of acoustic. He's got Little Walter on a lot of these songs playing the harmonica. So that'll be a good listen. Another double record. So actually, even though I bought 4, 3 of them are double records. So the great thing is, you look at all the list prices, 50, you're talking 123, and I think I spent like 68 or 63 in cash, and the rest was just Venmo. So I didn't really spend a lot of cash out of pocket on the 4. You got 3 double records, 2 brand new sealed bootlegs. So I'm gonna enjoy all of these. And again, I was pretty selective and cheap too, because the weekend before I bought about like 18 or 19 records, so, and close to $200 spent. So I put some stuff back that maybe the weekend before I would have, grabbed and spent the money on, but I was just a little more selective. Overall, the show was good. A lot of the usual dealers I know from the other shows, and then a couple, 2 or 3 or 4 people I didn't recognize, but good to always talk to the dealers and talk to other customers, see what they're buying, just talk music. And it took me I'm glad I did the early bird, because it took me probably 3 hours, maybe 3 hours and 10 minutes to get through the whole room. And I think I hit every dealer, at least, part of their stuff. So that was good. I'm glad I did the early bird, got home in time for the Pats game, even though they lost. Still a good game. And might have a couple shows coming up October, November. We'll see what I get to, and hopefully some more good stuff. But that's it for now.